Oh, hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here to review Wonka. And if you're wondering why I was so angry well, I guess not really angry because I did really love the Monk movie. But if you couldn't tell in that review, the way that I was all because I had just got out of Wonka. And wow. Like, that was really, really bad. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. It did have some great things about it, like little tiny elements and things that I was like, wow, this could have been a really good movie. But the whole thing in general, it really gave me like a bad feeling. Like, I know a lot of people are going to be kind of fooled and tricked into liking this movie because they like Timothée Chalamet, and they have their little crushes on him because he's like the new Hollywood girly boy. But this movie is bad. I mean, it is so soulless. It's like a Dementor from Harry Potter went up to this movie and sucked the soul out of it and just sucked everything out. Just sucked the heart and soul. Just everything. It's awful. It's like, this is corporate crap. It's corporate sludge. It's corporate shit that they're shoving down your throat and saying you're going to like it because you're a stupid consumer. That's what this movie is. This movie isn't a movie. It's a corporate consumption product. And I am going to rip it apart. I'm going to destroy this movie. I am going to eviscerate this movie. I am going to make this movie my bitch. Because I am so pissed off about this movie. I am a Willy Wonka fan. I'm a huge Willy Wonka fan. So much so to the point of I have seen the movie 1,000,000 times. I'm just kidding. I've seen it like probably 30 times or something normal like that, But I do have... I am a little bit more of a fan, though, because I do have this really cool, like, anniversary Blu-ray thing, edition of the original movie, and it's got these really cool erasers that smell like Sweet Tarts or Smarties, and then there's erasers that smell like chocolate, and there's these pencils that smell like hair cream and whatever, and it's a really, really cool, like, edition of the movie. And I would also like to point out that just talking about the Wonka history, before we get into this abomination of a corporate product, I was eating the Wonka candy when it was in Hollywood Video. Like, we would go in there, and the first thing that I would see on the displays at the ends of the movie aisles would be the Wonka candy bars. And I would see the Wonka ropes and the Wonka this and the Wonka Godstoppers and the Wonka that. And I really loved the Wonka ropes. These nerds ropes with they're like these red, this red, like, I don't know what you call it, taffy rope with nerds all over it. And then I would get the Wonka bar. And the thing was that the Wonka bar was not great. It was not the greatest thing ever. It was like a C grade bar. It didn't feel like it was like a special bar. And it was so much so to the point of where I tried to make my own Wonka bar. So like I like took, I don't know, I did something stupid, something like really kiddish where I melted like some chocolate that didn't have any sugar in it at all in the pan, and then I just poured it into this foil or something, and I cooled it down, and I put like a little golden ticket in it, and like I was so much into like the Willy Wonka stuff as a kid, And, even though the remake with Johnny Depp was bad, I saw it in theaters, and it was a fun experience to see in theaters. And it's one of my guilty pleasure movies. Even I enjoy it as a guilty pleasure purely. And another thing is, they used to have these really cool Wonka games online. I don't know if anyone else has ever played those games. That was like the Willy Wonka game website or something, and it was all to promote the Willy Wonka candy. And by the way, I also have a squirrel, the squirrel toy. I can't remember if it was from McDonald's or Wendy's, but they have like a squirrel that shakes when you pull this nut from it and you let it go, and it shakes all around. And I have that. It's a pretty cool fast food toy. I still have it. I kept it all these years. It's one of the few fast food toys that I've kept over the years. But anyways, this game site was epic. I mean, it is so epic. People have been trying to find ways to make a new website, or to make all the games come back to where you can download them and everything. That's how much people loved these games. There was this one where it was the sweet tart jumping game, and it was just you're a sweet tart or something, and you're jumping around collecting other sweet tarts or something. I can't remember. It was something funny and weird. I know that this sounds really funny, but it was fun. It was a really fun game. These really fun mini games and things. And then they had this taffy maze. And I'm not kidding you when I say this maze could give you nightmares. Because it was like a horror game. It was dark and scary. And you're just this kid, and you're walking around this maze looking for keys to open up to get out of the Laffy Taffy maze. But if you don't get there fast enough, you're going to get fucked up, and you're going to get killed by one of these monsters in the game. It's a really cool game, and just I have so many of these memories of the Wonka stuff as a kid, of just being such a huge Wonka fan. So it really disappointed me that all these years later, what did they decide to do? They decide to make this cash grab. This soulless, heartless cash grab. This horrible, awful, awful movie. Wonka. This I could see right through it. I could see right through this movie. It's so funny because this movie, the whole thing is about how, Slugworth is the villain. Race-swapped Slugworth, by the way. Race-swapped Slugworth is the villain. And how he's this guy who he wants to be the only chocolatier in town. Nobody else can sell chocolate in this town except for race-swapped Slugworth. But the thing is that, I felt this movie itself was a Slugworth movie. This was a heartless, soulless movie. It was just a product, all of Slugworth's chocolate. Because Slugworth in the movie, he does something to his chocolate to make it, less chocolatey. And, it felt like that's what this movie is. That's exactly what this movie is. They sucked all the color out of this movie. They try to have some color here and there, but it doesn't work because the movie's so ugly. I mean, this is an ugly, ugly movie. And I have no idea what they're thinking. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory looks like a beautiful, majestic dream. I don't know what else. A beautiful painting compared to this. This movie is ugly as shit. It just, everything looks so gross and dull and just lifeless and colorless, and just, there's one scene at the end, and then there's a couple of Oompa Loompa kind of scenes that look colorful, but other than that, this movie is really colorless and bland to look at. It looks like a product too. I think a lot of people, though, are going to be tricked into liking this movie because of the musical element and because there are a couple of, like, what do you call it? Like, heartwarming moments or, like, emotional things in it. It's like, yeah, so what? Like, there's emotional moments in some of the worst movies. You know, like, or there might not be, and you might just be emotional because you're so pissed off it was so bad. Because that's what I was like watching this movie. Like, this movie made me into, like, Scrooge from Christmas Carol. Like, that's how angry I was watching this movie. I was like, wow, what were they thinking here? Yeah, let's go through the characters before we get into the stupid story. The stupid, pointless story. Because that was the main takeaway I had. This story was pointless. There was nothing to this story that needed to be told. If you're going to make a prequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, make a story that needed to be told. This story didn't need to be told at all. And I could see through exactly what they were doing. Exactly every single little thing in this movie was on purpose, and it was shit. But let's go through the characters. Willy Wonka himself. Yeah, more like Willy Twink Wonka. I mean, come on. This is not the Willy Wonka that we all know and love. All he cares about is chocolate. He doesn't care about any other type of candy. He's just a chocolate man. And on top of that, the performance that Timothée Chalamet gives, it reminded me of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho more than it reminded me of Willy Wonka. I mean, that's bad, guys, because, like, Willy Wonka, he had his moments where he was creepy as shit, but it was the cool kind of creepy where, you know, he's just a really eccentric guy. He's not like an evil guy. He's not like a serial killer like Patrick Bateman. Timothée Chalamet, he reminded me of Patrick Bateman. If they ever do an American Psycho remake, oh, God forbid they do that. I'll put agendas on that for sure. Or like a prequel, they need to put Timothée Chalamet as Patrick Bateman. Because he could do the role. He did the role in this movie. That was him this whole movie. He is playing Patrick Bateman. It's bizarre, guys. Like, I was not expecting that. And let's see. Who are all the other... Oh, let's go to Noodle. So he has this girl assistant the whole movie, and she's... You know, I'm not going to dog on the actress too much because, you know, she's young, and I hope that she gets a better movie and is better in another movie, but her character was trash. I mean, her character has this, like, stupid story about, you know, she doesn't have any parents. She's an orphan, and, you know, she needs to find her parents, and it's like, yeah, who fucking cares? I came to this movie to see Willy fucking Wonka and his fucking chocolate factory, and I get this fucking sob story about this little girl and her stupid orphan issues. Like, who cares? Like, what is this? Like, I came here to see some chocolate making, some candy making, some Oompa Loompa magic time, and I'm seeing this stupid story. And then, let's see, who else? The chief of police. This guy had one of the only... This is Keegan, you know, from Key and Peele. He was pretty good because he's really funny and he's really good. He had one of the only good jokes in the movie, and it's a running joke with a fat suit, and it's just really, really funny because I did not expect for it to be like that, but it's really, really good. And some people complained about it too, so that's how you know it's good. People complained about it. So I think he was one of the better parts of the movie. And then you had Willy Wonka, the whole movie, he's staying with this couple, and they have this laundry business, and basically they bring in strangers and they stay there and they sign a contract or something, and then they acquire like a big debt with them, and they have to work in the laundry. And that's how Willy Wonka is forced to stay there, along with these other people like Noodle and these other people that he meets that are going to be working with him at his factory and his business. I thought that they were fine. Let's see, who else? Well, Hugh Grant, I will say, Hugh Grant was amazing. I mean, I thought he was the best part of the fucking movie. He stole the show every time he came on screen, and he would say, oompa, loompa, doopity doo. I got really, really excited because his songs were incredible. They were funny. He was amazing. Just like, I could have watched an Oompa Loompa movie. I don't want to give them ideas because they already were scraping the bottom of the barrel with this shit right here. But I will watch a Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa movie the whole way through. He was perfect. He was utterly flawless. Even though this movie was awful and terrible, he stood out. Like he was the best. And I'm trying to think, is there anyone else even worth noting? Well, Slugworth, I guess. He was not very good. He was not a good villain. And so the plot here is just, it's all about how Willy Wonka wants to be a chocolate maker in this town, and then Slugworth doesn't want him to be there, and so Slugworth tries to sabotage him, and at the same time he has to sneak away and sell chocolate when he's not working in the laundry for this couple. Ugh. There's so many problems with this movie. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, number one, the poster is really ugly. I mean, that poster is just, they put all this color on the poster, and then the movie's ugly and colorless and dull looking. Like, it's really funny. Like, they give you all this color on the poster, and then you go to the movies, and you're like, oh shit, where's all the color at? Where's all the color that they put on this poster? It's like false advertising at this point. So, one of the biggest issues I have with the movie, out of all the millions of issues, is how unrealistic it was, in terms of, there were so many points in the movie where you really had to suspend disbelief to enjoy what was going on, to the point of where it felt like a cartoon, or it really felt like a G-rated movie in a bad way. You know, the original Willy Wonka, I think, is a G movie, and that feels like a modern PG-13 movie. So there you go. There's so many things with, like, his candy. Like, he has these candies that makes you float, you know, fizzy lifting candy type things, chocolates. And it doesn't make any sense because he was still working with that fizzy lifting drink and trying to perfect it. And it was not working as well as the candies were in this movie back in the prequel days of his character. And so, like, all of his candies, he's able to do these amazing things, and it's not believable at all. It just makes you think, like, you know, they think that the audience is so stupid that they're just going to go along with, like, oh, this candy can make somebody go through, like, a good night on the town, where it takes them through the experience of a night on the town. And so they get drunk and they sing and dance and eat a meal and then they pass out. But then you remember in the original Willy Wonka movie, he was still trying to perfect the gum that was only a 3-course dinner. That's what he was trying to do. And he couldn't even do that without having those side effects. So how in the hell is he able to make this chocolate that can take you through the experience of having a night out on the town? I mean, it's just stupid. It's stupid and dumb. Ugh. And just, they never explain. I mean, he can do anything. This guy, he is a Gary Stu, basically, because he's got this chocolate making kit on him. It's like in a suitcase, and he can just do anything, anywhere. There's a moment in the movie where he's almost going to die. Him and Noodle, they're on the brink of death. And he says, well, if we're going to die in chocolate, we're going to die in Wonka's chocolate. which sounded really hilarious. And then he takes out this thing and he's like shaking it all around like he's suddenly making chocolate. And it's like, how is he making chocolate? How does he have the tools to make fucking chocolate in this situation? I mean, there's this really cartoonish sequence at the end, too, where they go through this heist so that they can steal this account book, because the whole thing is, like, they have to get the account book so that they can show it to the police and show that Slugworth is... He's got 2 books for his finances. He's got one for the police that he shows them, and then one for the real one down in this vault. And so they have this whole heist thing, and it's really bizarre, this movie. It just feels like, what was this? Like, why was this movie? This was not necessary. It was not needed. It was not well done. It was not good. There's so many cliches in this movie. There's that cliche. Remember that cliche when we were talking about earlier this year, where someone takes an object and they throw it at something, and then randomly that thing opens up magically, and that's exactly where they needed to throw it? That cliche happens in this movie. Noodle just picks something up, she throws it at some random spot, and it opens up, and that's the secret compartment. That's where we're at in 2023. We're still doing that cliche where, sorry, I was trying to find my notes because I wrote down a couple of notes. But they did that cliche. The throwing cliche, I guess you could call it. And another cliche they had, which only lasted for like 5 minutes, which I kind of thought was funny because like they made it seem like it was going to last for a long time. There's a moment near the end of the movie, a moment that used to happen a lot, like clockwork, where everything is sad and everybody's lost. There's a big bad thing that happens, and then Willy Wonka's going to give up, and it's sad, wah, wah, wah. And I thought, like, we're really doing that cliche too, where we have, like, the sad period in the movie where the characters are sad, and then they have to get back up on their feet. Like, really? That's what we're doing here? Like, that's the big thing that we had to see, this fucking Wonka movie? This company was desperate for you to like this movie. Warner Brothers, like, they were fucking desperate for you to go see this movie and pay your hard-earned money to see this crappy-ass fucking movie. This movie wasn't worthwhile. This movie is just nothing but a product. And until you guys can see that, you're going to be getting more bad movies like this. More movies like this where people pretend like it's good because they have a crush on the twink boy, the girly boy, Timothy Chalamet. People are going to pretend this movie is good because they have this fake emotion in this movie. Like, they resolve that storyline with the girl and her parents because it turns out she's related to Slugworth, and her dad was Slugworth's brother. And so there's this emotional moment with that where she gets to see her mom again. And then Wonka also had a single mother family, by the way. So, 2 single parent families in this fucking movie. As usual, that I told you guys when I talked about the Goosebumps movies, I told you so. It's what they're trying to do. And then another thing, too. Willy Wonka, the whole movie, he's carrying around this chocolate bar that his mom gave him. And I did actually think that moment was emotional. So I won't lie about that. I mean, I can't, I'm not perfect. I did get a little bit emotional at the end when he opened up this chocolate bar and he's sharing it with all of his friends, and then he took the last piece. But then I realized something, and because she gave him a golden ticket of her own. So that's where he got the idea, and I thought that was fucking queer. I mean, it's not because Willy Wonka had this great golden ticket idea, it's all because of a woman, his mother, giving him the golden ticket herself and telling him how much she loved him. That's where he got the golden ticket idea. He couldn't come up with that idea by himself because he's not good enough to come up with an idea like that alone. But the chocolate inside this fucking wrapper, it is perfect chocolate. And I mean, he's now like in his 20s or maybe 30s. I don't know how old that fucker is. But he's old. He's older than... He's not a 10-year-old. He's not a 5-year-old. In the flashbacks, when she made this chocolate bar for him, he was like 8 years old or something. So this chocolate is like 10 or 15 years old, and it still looks exactly like it did in the flashback. I mean, it just couldn't... There's so many things like that in this movie where just you have to be a brain-dead moron to enjoy this story, to enjoy the things that are going on here. Like, there's another point, too, where he just magically gets this shop, and it's this abandoned place, and he just magically gets it. He magically has enough money to buy the shop, but he doesn't have enough money to pay off the debt that he owes to the couple for some reason. He has enough money to buy a shop, but he doesn't have enough money to pay off the debt. Just really, really dumb. And so, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this shop that he gets has been fully built up, customized. It looks perfect. It looks like a scene out of the original movie, practically. And it's like, how in the hell was he able to get this place built up that fast? And how did it happen anyway? Was it just magic? Did he wiggle his nose like fucking Bewitched, and it just fucking magically built itself up? Like, what the fuck is up with that? Why can't the people who make these fucking movies write a good fucking script? And if that's not bad enough, one of the stupidest things of this movie, too, because that store thing really pissed me off. All of a sudden, the store just builds itself up out of nowhere. And it's fully stocked, too. Out of nowhere. In, like, less than a day. Near the end of the movie, after they complete their heist, and also, there is a song called Sorry Noodle. It's just fucking stupid. That was a part of the sad period of this movie. He's like, sorry, Noodle. I was gonna help you find your parents. But then shit happened. And I had to sell out to tokenize Slugworth. Sorry, Noodle. We got that song. That's a song that Willy fucking Wonka is singing in 2023. So anyways, when they have the whole confrontation and they find out that Noodle's mother was married to Slugworth's brother, it's really hilarious because after they're saved by the Oompa Loompa, who's, as I said, he steals the show in this movie. After they're saved by him, when they go outside and they defeat the bad guy and the bad guys get arrested and they float away into outer space or whatever. I don't want to explain every little thing like Safi does, so I don't give a fuck. But after all that happens, there's one of the people who works with Willy Wonka and Noodle. She reveals that she has found Noodle's mother. And it's like, well, wait a second. How in the hell did this woman find out that Noodle's father was related to Slugworth, and then how was she able to track down Noodle's mother? Like, it makes no sense at all. There was no time for Willy Wonka. There was no moment for Willy Wonka to deliver her that information. And yet he knows that she's been working on it. And he's like, she's been working on this all afternoon just for you, Noodle. because I'm Willy Wonka and I can do anything except for when I can't because my mom is the one who came up with the golden ticket idea and not me. And it's like, well, what the fuck is up with this? Like, he didn't have any time to come up to give that information to that woman. So how is that woman researching all afternoon when the whole afternoon they've been committing that heist and then they've been drowning in a sea of chocolate together? Like, it's just like, can't these people write? Can't these people like do anything right in Hollywood? Like, they just suck so badly. Like, I can't believe it. I mean, I'm gonna destroy this movie even more because there's so many cringeworthy moments where like they're trying to connect it to the original, but they fail really hard. Like, at least Tim Burton's version tried to do something different, and it didn't just try to do this like thing where Dr. Sleep did it, where they're like trying to pay lip service to the original, but then they're also trying to do their own thing, and then they're failing at both because they're not doing either right. They're not committing to either fully. Like Dr. Sleep, that movie could have been really good, but it was just okay because it was paying lip service to the original movie, and it was paying lip service to the television movie, and it was trying to do its own thing all at once. And that's why it failed, and that's why there's no Dr. Sleep Part 2. Dr. Sleep was already a sequel, so what does that tell you? This movie, it had lines such as this: I'm gonna need more than a shop if I want to share chocolate with the world. I'm gonna need a factory. It's just it's, like, who writes this stuff? Like, who writes this and gets paid to write this? I mean, did a machine write this movie? Did that machine from the original movie, you know, the one that told that guy to shove the chocolate up his ass, you know, did he write this movie? Did that fucking machine want to make a comeback and write Wonka 2023? I just couldn't believe it. I'm gonna need more than a shop. I'm gonna need a factory. Dun dun dun. Like, And then you have the fact that, like, one of the biggest things that happens is that Slugworth and his friends, his workers, they poison Willy Wonka's chocolate so that people grow all this hair and their skin turns different colors and weird shit like that. I don't know how they're able to do that. In the original movie, if you guys remember, he doesn't do anything like that. He's got the hair cream thing, and then he's doing that weird thing where he puts a shoe in that boiling water or whatever. But there's nothing like in this movie where just these magical things happen because people eat this fucking candy. And they only eat chocolate, by the way, in this Willy Wonka movie. They never eat any other type of candy. There's no everlasting gobstopper. There's nothing like that in this movie. It's just chocolate. There's chocolate flowers, chocolate this, chocolate that, chocolate, I don't know. But we never see Slugworth plan to poison the candy. It happens, like, off-screen sometime, like, I don't know, some mystery time. Like, I guess, like, in the same way that Willy Wonka's shop magically got built. It was in, like, the center of town. It just magically got built, like, overnight. And I guess, like, also just magically overnight, Slugworth just magically poisoned all of his candy. Because the writers think that you're stupid, so they're not going to actually, you know, write a story that makes any sense. They're just going to write this shit, and you're going to eat it all up because you wanted to see this fucking Wonka movie because it's the Wonka brand, and you like the Wonka brand, right? Okay, so the music in this movie, the musical stuff, it wasn't bad. You know, I hate musicals, so I'm not saying that the music stuff was bad, the songs, but let's just be honest. The only good songs in this movie, in my opinion, were the Oompa Loompa songs and then the Pure Imagination at the end, obviously. Like, everything else can just go eat a dick. Like, all the other songs in this movie, like the Sorry Noodle and the Scrub at the beginning, like, just, they sucked. They just sucked badly. They just sucked hard. Like, maybe I would have liked this movie more if it just felt like it needed to exist. But at the end of this movie, it really felt like this whole story was all about Noodle and her finding her mother. And that's fine if this was like an original movie, but I was just kind of weirded out that, like, in this Wonka movie, that it wasn't really a story about Wonka becoming a famous chocolate candy guy. It was more so about Noodle finding her parents and about, like, weird shit like that. It just didn't feel like this movie needed to be made at all. And I don't care how much people don't like this video too, because I got a really bad feeling watching this movie. Like, when I watched the Tim Burton movie, I laughed at it, and, you know, there were some things that I was really upset with, but I didn't have this, like, negative feeling. Like, it's just such a negative feeling to go and see a movie, and you just feel like this is a product that they made so that they can make money off of you. Like, it's like, what kind of world is that? Like, they just make this movie because people like the Wonka brand, right? Like, this movie really bothered me. I despised this movie. I despised it. The ending was fine, though. You know, the ending, he's got his factory, and they did kind of make it look like the factory in the original movie, and so that was another thing that I liked. I did like the factory at the end. It was very colorful, and it was so much unlike the rest of the movie that was very colorless, and so I don't know if maybe that was on purpose or something, but that's just not good. Like, the original movie had a lot of darkness to it, and even though it had darkness, it had color. You know, they didn't suck out the color in the original movie, because they didn't do that back then. If they didn't want to have color in the movie, they make it fucking black and white. So, my grade for this movie, this fucking abysmal, atrocious piece of garbage, my rating is burnt popcorn. Sometimes I leave popcorn in the microwave a little too long, like 10 seconds too long, and the problem with popcorn is that even if you leave it in the microwave for 10 seconds too long, 10 seconds too long for popcorn is 10 seconds too much, because your popcorn will end up being burnt and it will not be good at all. But then you eat it anyway, because when that happens to me, I just suck it up and I eat the popcorn anyway, even though it's burnt and it doesn't taste as good, you know, because I don't want to waste it, you know. Even though it's, like, kind of cheap, it's not really that expensive. When I make burnt popcorn, I just kind of eat it anyway. And honestly, I wanted to keep seeing this movie and watching it because I wanted it to get better. I wanted it to be so much better than it was. And I wanted to like it as much as I know that other people are going to like it, especially since it's a Willy Wonka movie. But I hated it. I hated this movie. It's not one of the worst movies of the year. I mean, it is better than Napoleon, so it's kind of like in the middle for me. It's not one of the best movies. It's not one of the worst movies, but still, do not see this movie because it is a soulless, heartless movie. like, they can have all this pretend emotion in the movie where they have all the sob stuff with, like, oh, look, I found my mother. Yay, I found my mother. Oh, look, Willy Wonka now has his factory and his Oompa Loompa friend. Yay. Oh, look, Willy Wonka opens up the chocolate bar that his mom made for him when they were really poor. Yay. But there's so many cringeworthy things in this movie that just, with the things with tying into the original, like just his outfit, like for no reason he has this outfit the whole movie. This outfit that it looks like an eccentric businessman's outfit with this purple coat and the top hat. But this movie tries to pretend like it's like a poor person's outfit. And that and apparently, like, even years later, he's still wearing, like, a version of this poor people outfit. Like, this rags outfit that is all used up, and it looks like it hasn't been washed, and it looks like he got it out of the garbage can. Like, really? That's where Willy Wonka got his look? He got it out of a garbage can? And above all, too, this movie doesn't feel like a Willy Wonka prequel. So if you're hoping that this is like some, like, because there's been some really good prequels out before recently. Like, you know, there have been some really good examples of how to do a prequel in recent years. And this movie isn't one of them. This movie should have been its own thing. Like, if you want to... Look, you know what you could have done? You could have had this be like a relative of Willy Wonka. You could have had it been like something where it was inspired by Willy Wonka. But this isn't Willy Wonka to me. This is not... This movie is just... So anyways... Please like this video and comment. I'm a little less angry since a couple of hours passed since I originally finished the movie. But I am still really irritated about this movie's existence. So please comment too and tell me what you thought of the movie. Because I know that a lot of people are going to really like it, unfortunately. And... yeah, we're going to keep getting more movies like this, unfortunately. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.